Hey, everybody.
Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. This is the WOW podcast. Wendy's on Wellness Wednesday. WOWW. I am Dr. Wendy Sue Massey,
And I am Wendy Flournoy.
and we are here to just tickle your brains today. We've got all kinds of stuff we want to talk about. If we run out of time, we promise nothing will be missed. It will go to next week. We've got a laundry list of stuff we want to talk about today. For those who don't know me, I am a lifelong registered nurse, ER and trauma. Recently retired and completed my doctorate in integrative medicine, and officially an alternative medical practitioner. And Wendy, you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Wendy Flournoy, and I am a certified hypnotherapist. I also do herbal medicine and foraging, and hopefully soon going to be teaching a lot of that.
Amen. You need to be teaching. You're my go-to. I know that. So how about these Means siblings?
Oh,
MEANS, Means, for anybody who doesn't know who we're talking about.
Casey and Callie.
Yes.
Amazing. When you shared those podcasts with me, and I had seen an interview that he did with Tucker Carlson about a year ago, and it blew my mind.
Yeah.
Because he's a lobbyist.
Yeah.
But he's like an insider that knows, and his sister is a doctor, and she's an insider that knows, and they are just, man, talking about the crisis in America with our food.
Yeah. Yeah. I have been binging on them this week. They have blown my mind. For anybody who doesn't know, and if I have, we're new to the podcasting thing. So if there's a way I can share this in the show notes, I absolutely will.
Yes.
But the 4 podcasts that I watched this week, they're all worthy of watching. You will get something different out of each one of them. But I know one was the POW podcast, which now I want to reach out to this lady and see if she ever wants to do a powwow.
Nice.
Anyway.
Nice.
Hers is called Pursuit of Wellness. Cannot recall her name. I apologize. But Callie was on hers. Casey was on the Relatable podcast, which is a wonderful Christian-based podcast. I just love her, but she talks to absolutely everybody. And then I saw 2 with Tucker. I saw the old one you're talking about. Yeah. I think it was from February.
Yeah.
And that was with Callie, the brother.
Yes.
And then the one just released 4 days ago that Tucker did that was 2 hours and 15 minutes.
It's amazing.
Wow.
It's amazing. I haven't gotten through all of it. I've got like 45 minutes left because you sent it to me this morning. So I've been trying to listen to it. And it is, with both of them there, it is just mind blowing. The information that they have and the knowledge that they have.
And for anybody who doesn't know what we're talking about, this power sibling couple, Dr. Casey Means is, I won't give you all the details. I really want you all to watch these podcasts because we can't.
Everybody needs to see them.
We will give you highlights, but Dr. Casey Means went to school, top of her class, Stanford Medical School, to be a highly decorated ENT surgeon. And she explained today in the one that I watched, the Tucker podcast, I think she said it was the 3rd time she had done surgery on this 15-year-old girl who had all of these comorbidities. She was obese, all of these things. And the 3rd time she had to do sinus surgery on her for such horrible inflammation. And she got chastised when she asked, like, her chief surgeon or her attending, what in the world could be causing this inflammation? He said, do the procedure. And he told her that basically.
Didn't she get chastised because they heard her talking to the girl about her diet?
Yes. And they said, you don't have the training to teach in nutrition, just do the procedure. Yep. And so she really started thinking about this, and she was like, something is really wrong. And this woman gave up her career over this. She knew that something was wrong. She could see, she knows how corrupt our healthcare system is. And she walked in and put her scalpel on the desk of her boss and walked out and has
At
not
30
looked
years old.
at
30
30
years
years
old.
old.
Yep.
And you know what I loved? Talk about great parents. Her parents threw her a party
That's
because
awesome.
they felt like she was, using her own brain.
That's
So
right.
you would think
Her brother thought she was an idiot.
right. Her brother did. Her brother thought she was an idiot.
Now he's reformed.
Yes, very much so. So that's her story. And she's got so much insider information on the medical system that is incredible.
Yes.
Then there is Callie, who is a lobbyist. He worked for Coca-Cola. No comment. He worked for Coca-Cola. He worked for pharmaceutical companies. But as a
he also went to Stanford.
And he also went to Stanford, and I believe also got his Harvard business degree. He went to Bose. So, I mean, very well decorated, smart dude. And he is now a whistleblower also, basically letting everybody know what is happening on the inside. Where is all this money coming from? Why is everything so corrupt? And talking about the pharmaceutical companies paying for the medical schools, which you and I have talked about for 12 years. Yep. A lot of these things they talked about, you and I have discussed for 12 years.
Yep. Corruption, the conspiracy theories.
I was going to say, but we were the conspiracy theorists. We were crazy.
Well, it's been my experience here in the last 5 years that the conspiracy theories are the truth.
Yeah.
But not all of them.
Of course.
But yeah, he was talking about, he was even getting phone calls from Stanford and Harvard where they were kind of chastising him, telling him he needs to stop this. Yeah. He needs to stop this, that it's too radical, and he needs to stop because they're afraid they're going to lose a lot of money.
Yeah. Oh, that's what it comes down to.
Yes.
They also mentioned something else that we've talked about a lot over the years. How many of the, whenever I say, and, no disrespect, first of all, let me just back up. I don't blame the doctors who don't know.
Absolutely not.
This is how they're taught.
Yep.
This is deeply ingrained from medical school. I believe that doctors go into this because they really, truly want to do the greater good.
They want to help people.
Same thing with nurses, same thing with dietitians and everybody else that has the, nutritionists, all this stuff. I really do believe that that's what they want.
Absolutely.
That being said, every time somebody comes to me wanting my help with holistic nutrition and say, my dietitian gave me this list or my nutritionist gave me this list, and my head explodes over the foods on the list.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it is so disturbing.
When you talk to someone and they'd say, I'm eating healthy.
Yeah.
Now I have to ask, well, what's your definition of healthy?
Yes, I hear it all the time. I hear it every day. And the thing is that these organizations, all of these companies, these processed food companies and all of these soda companies and everybody are paying to get their information, get their products on these lists. I'm going to tell you, just this week, I was putting together a list for a dear client of mine who needed a kidney-friendly diet. So what's the first thing I did? I said, okay, well, I already know it's not going to be great, but I'm going to start with the Kidney Foundation. I want to go to the American Kidney Foundation and start there with what they recommend, and then I'm going to work backwards.
Uh-oh. How'd that go?
When I saw Mountain Dew on that list, I about fell out of my chair. I about fell out of my chair. I almost threw my computer across the room. I'm screaming for Bill. I'm like, you're not going to believe this list. And I'm showing him, and I'm like, this is what they are handing to a renal patient whose kidneys are failing and telling them to eat.
That was one of the things that blew my mind in that interview with Tucker Carlson and the Means, when he was saying that the I don't remember which 3-letter agency it was, has now recommended, even for 2-year-olds and all the kids from 2 years old up, 10% of sugar a day.
Yes. The USDA. the United States Dietary Association, the USDA.
Yeah,
Yes.
the USDA, that's what it was. And I'm like, I was in the car listening to that and that part, and I was like, who
Did you
who in
hear
their right
why?
mind thinks that that is okay?
Did you hear why? If I don't know if you
Remind
missed
me.
this part, they were saying that the USDA basically board, the
Yeah.
commission,
Yes.
has processed food. 40% of it is
Yep.
processed food CEOs, or like
Yep.
high up people in these processed food companies. Some of them even from overseas. Why are people from other countries who run
And
these companies
yep.
determining what we eat in this country? And this is one time that I was so glad to hear this, that a handful of doctors actually went to them and said, please at least drop it to 6%. There's
Yeah.
no reason for the USDA guidelines to say that a 2-year-old should have
Can have
10% of their
10%
diet in
sugar.
sugar.
Yeah.
And they rejected it because of who is on the board.
Yep. It is such a tight-knit web of the
Deception.
pharma companies, the agricultural pesticides. It's all in there together, and they're the ones making all the money off of it.
Monsanto and Bayer are one and the same. Bayer
Yes.
Corporation that makes aspirin. Oh, the
Yes.
same ones that tell you that you need an aspirin a day to
Day.
keep the heart attack away, that
Yep.
are also spraying pesticides that are causing heart attacks.
Right. Exactly. And there's so many things like that it's hard to imagine that this is not by design.
Oh yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, because it is all connected so much that way, and it's all about the money. And the only way to make the money is to keep people sick.
Yeah. 100%. And again,
Mhm.
what we've been saying for years, and I'm not trying to, I'm just saying that when you get that awakening and you start recognizing these things, this all started for me. And I know you and I were very interconnected then as well. When Matthew first got sick, what we were talking about, when my son first got sick, and I think I read the China study.
We did. That was the first thing that we read, was the China
Yeah.
study.
Incredible. This thick. If you like scientific reading, otherwise read it at bedtime. It'll put you to sleep. But
some of it was over my head.
yes. But when they got to the actual nuts and bolts of it,
Yes.
and the, like how many, I can't remember the author, Esselstyn. Was it Esselstyn? But anyway, whoever it is, I'll have to pull it out. I wasn't prepared to talk about on that. It just came to me. But he talked about, he used to be pretty well to do in DC, and was, well utilized, and was fired for bringing up, as a matter of fact, that's why I started looking into this, talking about there's a connection with how this awful stuff we've done to our dairy in this country. There's a direct link between that and juvenile diabetes. Well, that's what my son had, was, just out of nowhere, and he was my milk drinker. So that's why I started going down this rabbit hole. And that's when, in that book, it talked about the pharmaceutical companies and the food companies practically owning these medical schools. Yep. So, this has been something that has been on my radar for a while, but, I'm small potatoes. To have people like this from the inside exposing it, that is so huge. And
Callie's actually lobbying, Congress and everything to try to get things changed. So that's very encouraging to know that there's a movement going.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she called it the tribe.
It's not just us small potatoes hanging together.
Right. And again, this is reason to watch every one of those 4 podcasts I mentioned, because he mentioned different things in different ones.
Yes, he did.
Something they didn't really talk about much in the 2-hour Tucker. You would think that they'd cover everything in there, but there was just so much to talk about. They didn't cover in that one, but they did cover in, it was when he was on the POW, the Pursuit of Wellness, I believe he brought up. When he brought that, he brought up how Europe's standards are, and about how when you go to the doctor in Europe, and you say, hey, I've got all these symptoms, before they will even consider putting you on a medication, they give you a 6-month lifestyle regimen that they expect you to follow first.
Yep.
And the government subsidizes cards that will allow you to go buy organic groceries at a farmer's market, and will allow you to go to the gym, and they will offer incentives for this stuff.
And that's what he talked about on that last interview with Tucker too, was, well, both of them actually. The American way, it's incentivized to eat the junk. It's incentivized to drink the sodas. And they were talking about how they're now trying to get Medicaid to pay for the Ozempic for kids.
6 years old, they're trying to push for now.
Yeah.
A lifelong drug for 6-year-olds.
It's crazy. It is crazy. If we could incentivize through Medicaid with food stamp cards to own for only organic food or farmers markets, I mean, that would probably help a whole lot more.
10% of all food stamp dollars are spent on soda. When they said that, I was like, and we wonder what is happening in this country. But when somebody tries to fix it, and I'm not trying to upset anybody watching this, it's just the reality, they scream racism. They scream, that you're that it's systemically racist to say that, hey, people on food stamps should not be allowed to use that for junk that's going to kill them. I say, and that's the way my brain works, it's systemically racist for us to allow this to continue to happen. We're killing our impoverished.
It's mass genocide, just on a slow level.
It is. It is. We are continuing to kill our the poor people in this country, not just poor Black people, poor white people, poor everybody. We are killing these people because they are given absolutely no direction. As a matter of fact, now they're being told, when you go on these medications, at least 20 years ago, the doctors were saying, you should probably change your diet. Nowadays, they're being told when they start on that Ozempic, eat what you want, it'll be fine.
It's fine. Just take your shot every week, or however often it is, whatever. Take your medicine.
Yeah. I mean, I get so excited when one of my clients comes to me and says, oh, my doctor isn't going to put me on medicine. This just happened today. I just had a new one that's signing up that said, you know what? My doctor said that I can do lifestyle changes first. I was like, praise Jesus. There are still some out there. And actually encourage that. I said, don't you dare fire that doctor, because you got one that actually gets it, because so many of them do not. And again, I don't fault the doctors. No. That's what they're taught in school. And they mentioned that too. Casey, I think, is the one that said it, that the ones out there are few and far between, but they've also educated themselves.
That's right.
And I found that when Bill went through cancer, a lot of the young doctors at Hopkins are very in tune, because they're taking it upon themselves to learn.
Well, I think the ones that I've come across are a little bit younger, not so stuck in their ways, and probably have a spiritual level to them too.
That's very true.
I think that makes a difference, because I think a lot of doctors hit the level like Casey Means did, where they have a case and they want to fix the problem instead of just fixing the symptom. I think they do. And let's hope that happens to more and more. But they want to fix, the system, not just the symptom.
Absolutely.
But we've talked about it before. If you have emergency or trauma issues, man, we are the best in the world.
We are the best.
The best in the world. But if you compare us on chronic issues to other countries, we're horrible. We are horrible.
Oh yeah. And people know it. And here's the amazing thing that I really hope people will really dig into. And listening to those podcasts are great, but keep digging. I learned things I didn't know, like that Adderall that is now plaguing our
I
children
heard that.
the first time it was created was by the Nazis to make them more aggressive.
And it gave them psychosis. Did
Yes.
you hear that?
Yes.
I was like, what?
So they took it, made it stronger, and are giving it to our kids.
They said,
the actual heck
what was the percentage of teens? 35% of teens are now on Adderall.
It was either that or the SSRIs, but yeah, the SSRIs was another big one for the kids.
And I was like, oh my gosh.
And
I did not know that at all about Adderall.
I didn't either. Also, Ozempic is made in Norway. It is their Novartis or whatever that company is. They are based out of Norway, and their citizens are not allowed to take it.
Yep.
They are banking on us in America making them wealthy.
And isn't one of their company people on one of our agencies?
Yes, the USDA. They're on the USDA agency. Why are we going to make good health guidelines, good food dietary guidelines, if one of their big wigs from Norway is on our USDA board? Are you kidding me?
Because they want to make the money. America will be paying, and a lot of countries are banning this medicine.
Yeah,
a lot of countries are, but because they don't believe in the systems that we do.
Right. And again, that was another one that they said, oh, well, it's racist if we don't allow this for children. I'm so sick of that argument. There is a time and place for it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to show y'all. You want to read a great book? I am reading this one right now. The Need to Be Whole, Patriotism and the History of Prejudice by Wendell Berry. It's brilliant. You know what? This makes me want to go back and read a lot of old timers books. Because,
right.
When you read something that was written, this was actually written in 2022, but this dude I don't know how old Wendell Berry is, but I know he's an older gentleman. Brilliant. When I read his stuff, I feel like I'm reading something from the 1930s that makes me feel like I need to be, really intellectual to understand it. But it's not that it's difficult to understand. It's just the words. I'm like, wow, you're so smart.
Very articulate.
Very articulate. So anyway, it talks about, the history of prejudice and what we're doing to the minorities in this country. And it's just horrible. It's horrible. Yeah. Speaking of books, if you all haven't gotten it yet, I
ordered mine today.
It just came 2 days ago. This is the one from Dr. Casey Means, the one that we're geeking out on. I just love this woman. I'm not even kidding. She told her story about when just she had to walk away. And granted, she is superhuman. It made me think of when I walked away. Because I was in the midst of COVID, financially didn't know how it was going to pan out. Right. And quite honestly, I was getting sick and tired of every day finding a new direction of somebody telling us how viruses are spread. And it was so not at all what we had been taught all these years on virology. It was so bogus. And my last straw was when I had 2 different doctors in 2 different days ask me to swab dead bodies. It was horrible. And it was one that came in from a motorcycle accident and one that came in from a drug overdose. 0 reason to think that they had COVID. And they wanted me to swab them. And I said, I am done. I left. And that was after 17 years in the ER.
Yep. Very brave. Very brave.
Loved the ER.
Yeah.
But I just was not gonna. It made me crazy because I could see right before my eyes, and I'll just share this one piece because I don't want to make this a COVID thing because goodness knows that's still such a hot button topic. But
I have a lot of thoughts on that myself.
I know, and we could do 5 shows on that, but I won't.
We'd probably get banned.
Yeah, really. We're trying to build our following on YouTube. We're gonna get shadow banned in the 2nd episode. But when we used to have agencies that came in and monitored everything we did. Twice a year we'd get JACO would come in, which is Joint Commission, American Hospital Organization. I don't know exactly what it, but it's the Joint Commission is what we always call it. It's JACO. Would come in, and one would be scheduled, one would be surprise. Let me tell you something. You get caught with your pants down there, and they could totally just make sheer hell for you in that facility.
Like shutting it down to the point of shutting it down?
It was bad enough, yeah. Okay. So, you had to watch your P's and Q's whenever Joint Commission was coming around. And we did anyway, but because we knew that one could pop up anytime. But, you want to do what's best for the patients. Prior to that period of time,
right?
If I would have put a pinky in the hallway wearing a gown, shoe, like surgical booties, a mask, anything, when I was coming out of a flu patient's room, a tuberculosis patient's room, any patient that had any kind of concern for contamination, I would have been written up so hard. It would have been a big deal. Fast forward to this world in 2020, and we were having to wear the same gown for a week, the same mask for a week, the same bonnets and shoe covers in every single room, walking all over the hospital when we were taking our COVID patients.
That's crazy.
I was like, what world am I in?
Yep.
And yet they're telling us it's the most dangerous thing we've ever experienced in our lifetime. And I was like, then why am I spreading it all over the stinking hospital?
Yeah.
It was horrible, but that was the standard of care. And they just said, oh, well, we're worried about running out of supplies. Okay, well, are we worried about spreading this disease that's so awful? I mean, it was such a contradiction. It was such a contradiction. So, anyway.
I feel like all common sense got lost.
Oh, 100%.
Just thrown out the window.
100%.
Don't question anything. Just do as you're told.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow.
You do. You get in trouble for questioning.
Penalized for thinking,
You do. You get in trouble for thinking. And they tell us to follow the science. Meanwhile, we're following the science.
Yes.
Yes. So anyway. Needless to say, that topic is probably one that some people now have shut us off for, and that's okay. Whatever.
Yeah, that's okay.
I won't compromise I won't lie about what I experienced. I won't, I won't ever lie. If anybody ever wants to know what I experienced as an ER nurse during COVID, I will be happy to share with you one-on-one, because it was atrocious and made me leave my beloved career, though God had other plans, because here we are. So it was pretty wild. So everything, if you are not wanting to hear all of the crazy, you still need to listen to those podcasts. And I'm going to tell you why. They gave so much hope. They gave so much hope. I really do believe that you're going to hear of the Mean siblings, whether it be in a cabinet position one day if we get the right person in charge, whether it be, we are going to, when
they're just getting started.
Yeah.
They are just getting started. They've done a whole lot already, but I see a whole lot coming from them, because they are very passionate. They care about what happens to the future of our children.
That is their biggest focus. So the kids, I mean, I sent this to my kids, and I'm just like, look, y'all need to absorb every bit of this, because this is such a big deal.
Yes, it is.
It's devastating. This is the last, well, maybe it's not the last one thing that really hit me hard. And I'm not anti-vax. I believe that there is a time and a place. When our kids were getting vaccines as kids, I got them all for them. But 32 years ago, when I'm getting my daughter vaccinated and my son vaccinated, there were a whole lot less. Here was the statistic that blew my mind. And the only answers to me are the vaccines and foods, because that's the only things that have increased in our children is the processed foods and the vaccines since this time. Using the exact same assessment tool. Autism, 1 in 1,500 kids in the year 2000. I'm not talking 100 years ago, guys. I'm talking 24 years ago.
Yep.
1 in 1,500 using the exact same assessment tool and assessment criteria. Nothing has changed in the criteria. Today, it was either, I cannot remember if she said 1 in 32 or 1 in 36. That is huge. And
It
in
is.
California, they mentioned it was the absolute worst state for it. 1 in 22 kids with
Yep.
autism diagnoses using the exact same criteria. If that statistic alone doesn't make you open your eyes and say, oh my gosh, I better figure out what the heck is
Yeah.
happening.
Yep.
I mean, our kids' lives are at stake.
Well, I saw, because I have 5 grandchildren, all under the age of 5, I saw the list of recommended vaccines,
There's 72 now.
and I was
72.
absolutely blown away. You know what? I remember getting my kids like 7.
Same. Your kids are the same age as my kids. Same.
Yeah. 7. I remember like 7, and then they had to have one more in middle school or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, 72? What?
Did you hear? This is something I didn't know because I've always wondered why they give babies Hep B vaccines right out of the gates. Did you hear that reasoning?
No, I
That
did not.
it was explained. It might be in that last 45
I
minutes.
know all of my the parents, all my kids have denied that
Well,
for the grandbabies.
yeah. Well, it doesn't make sense.
No.
It's IV drug use. It's sexually transmitted. It's
Yeah.
something that a newborn does not need to
And they
worry
want
about.
to do it within the first hour of being born.
So here's the crazy thing. I didn't ever understand why there was such a push to do it. Do you know what the explanation was that Callie said when he questioned it? They said, what if a child is running around on a playground barefooted and gets stuck by a needle left by an IV drug user in the foot? That was the explanation that was given.
That's
And
the explanation for giving that vaccine to
they were
an
using that as
hour-old baby?
they were using that as their example of why it's so important. And Callie said, how many times does that happen? And they
Yeah,
said, well, none, but it's absolutely possible with the rise of IV drug use and with needles being left.
that's crazy. I know my oldest son went round and round with the labor and delivery department when they were trying to insist that they get Jade that vaccine.
It's crazy.
And they had to actually fight them to say, no, we're declining that. You will
Yeah.
not be giving that to my daughter.
Yeah. Yeah.
She does not need that. Because I mean, my oldest son is a tattoo artist, y'all. So he has all his classes and training and in blood pathogens and things like that. So he knew what that vaccine was for. And he's like, my daughter doesn't need that.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's amazing. So I will say that one thing that also wasn't on the Big Tucker one that that Casey brought up in the Relatable podcast. Again, why you got to watch them all. They all have
Yes,
something so
they're
good.
all good.
Dr. Casey Means said that I loved how she made this example, and this goes to what I teach every day, and I love this, is that you think of yourself as the mother of 40 trillion cells. And
I love that analogy that she
wasn't that
did.
amazing?
Yes.
It's like, it's not that complicated. Just
Yep.
like with a baby, they can't tell you what's going on. So
Yep.
they're going to cry about it when they're hungry, when they need food, when they need food, when they need water, when they need light, when they need rest,
When they don't feel good.
when they don't feel good, they're going to let you know. But there's only a handful of things they need. They need
Yep.
light from the sun. They need the proper nutrition. They need water. They need rest. They need
Yep.
proper rest, and they need exercise. If they get all 5 of those things, they aren't going to be crying.
Yep. They're good.
So when you get inflammatory reactions, it's your body trying to tell you something.
Yep.
And so she was talking about how you needed to focus on, instead of worrying about weight, instead of worrying about BMI, and I have really tried to drive this home with people that I work with. Don't get so weight focused, get health focused. But I
That's
love
right.
how she put it all in a nice, neat package. She said there's 5 criteria for being metabolically healthy. I'm going to read them to you, what she said, and it was brilliant. HDL cholesterol for women should be under 50 and under 40 for men. Triglycerides should be 150 or better. Fasting glucose, 150 or sorry. Oh my gosh, I'm looking. You know, when you do the greater than and less than signs, you're supposed to know. Let me repeat that. Let's start over.
I was sitting here thinking, did she just say that wrong?
Yeah. HDL cholesterol is supposed to be greater than, that's a good cholesterol. It's supposed to be greater than, I really do know these things, but I was reading it going, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. Okay. Greater than 50 in women and greater than 40 in men. Triglycerides less than 150. Fasting glucose less than 100. Waist circumference less than 35 inches for women and less than 40 inches for men, and blood pressure under 120/85. If you can check all 5 of those boxes, you're metabolically healthy. Boom. Keep yourself there.
Yep.
If you aren't, let's get you there.
Yeah, right.
You know, it's literally that simple.
And, you know, that's what she was talking about too. And one of the, now I can't remember which podcast it was, but she was talking about in other countries, that's what they do. They check those 5 things every time they go to the doctor. And the doctor's first inclination is not to put you on a prescription.
No.
It's to change something in your lifestyle.
Yep. Got to get those 5 things under control and lifestyle. She said in our country, only 6.8% are completely metabolically healthy without medication. And that's disgusting.
That's mind blowing.
It is. Something else.
I mean, I knew it was bad. But I didn't think it was that bad.
Yeah. Something else that they mentioned, talking about the obesity crisis. And, you know, people talk these days about fat shaming and about, you know, embrace your rolls or embrace your, you know, whatever it is. And I get it. I've always been a curvy girl. Okay. I've never been a stick figure. So I get it. And I definitely think it is very unhealthy to go through what Wendy and I did in the 80s, where it's like you see these supermodels on every single magazine who are like anorexic and
they were starving themselves.
Yeah. And we had no business thinking that was normal. So there's definitely extremes of this. So I appreciate that part of the movement. But the reality is that when they mention this is so true. 120 years ago, at the turn of the 19th century, if you were obese, you were a sideshow act in a circus. That's how rare it was. It was, oh my goodness, let's go look at this person who is 300 pounds. Now
something's wrong with them because the rest of us aren't like that.
Right. Yeah. It was considered an anomaly.
Yeah.
Now, 80%, I think it's 76%, it depends on who you hear, 76 to 80% of adults are considered overweight.
Yeah. And obese, not just overweight, obese.
And 50% of children. And that is a travesty.
Yeah.
I've been talking for a while about ever since, they were really good about the American Academy of Pediatrics garbage too. They were harsh on her. I was furious. Anybody that's followed me for any time saw I did a live after this because I was so disgusted when she went on, the head of the American Academy of Pediatrics went on 60 Minutes and said that they were going to start allowing the weight loss drugs for 12-year-olds and that it was genetic. It wasn't anything that they could help, and that if we fought against that, it was racist, classist, blah, 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 blah. So this is the head of American Academy of Pediatrics. She also explained that they changed the BMI charts for children. So now it used to be that the numbers were off the charts for these kids. They had a cap because kids were never that far off the charts. Now, so many kids are off the BMI charts. They didn't just make it a bigger chart. They even moved the needle so that the average kid was represented as being normal instead of recognizing that nowadays the average kid is overweight. And so it is just crazy what
And
they're doing.
they were saying that the average age for being overweight was now going down,
Oh, yeah.
like, to 6. And I'm
Yeah.
like, wow.
But we should allow 2-year-olds to eat 10% of their diet with sugar, with added sugar.
I guess they want to get it down to 2 instead of 6.
Probably. It's crazy. They're gonna come out of the womb and they're gonna go, "Oh, wow, look at your, chunky baby. Let's put them on Ozempic starting today."
Yeah. Make you a lifetime member.
It's insane. But
It's crazy.
there's so much corruption out there, and the world needs people like us and like, many other people that I have talked to. We are not
Yes.
alone that are
No.
really trying to bring this to light.
And
I am
bring the change.
Yeah.
Bring the change, because we're at a point now where it's like we need to go back to the old ways to be new again.
Yeah. And it's so funny you say that. That's exactly it. If you look at the fact that this is a new problem, this is one generation deep.
Yep.
It is truly a new problem. First of all, that gives me hope. That means
Yep.
it can be reversed.
That's right.
But secondly, it needs to, that one fact needs to wake people up.
Yep.
Why are people not recognizing that this is something so new that people should be asking why?
Yep.
And what has changed? Because and they were great at pointing this out, since World War II,
Mhm.
all of a sudden, all the processed foods,
Mhm.
all the drugs, the very first drug ever for
Yep.
something that was a chronic use, for a long-term use, was the birth control pill.
Yep. In the
Every
60s.
single thing. This is all new. It's
Yep.
since the 40s, 50s, 60s. So if this is such a new problem and we can see it before our eyes, the number of dollars being spent on our healthcare system is astronomical. It's more than, our
Trillions.
expense.
It's
It's
trillions of
trillions.
dollars.
But as much as it's gone up, our health continues to get worse.
Yep.
So people need to be thought leaders and ask why, what is happening, and start rejecting the norm.
That's
Go
right.
back to how it was.
Or
Go back
questioning
to how
what you're being told.
Yeah.
I think that our whole system has taken for granted that we are a generation that just we would listen to what you have to say, but we kind of think for ourselves.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like the generation behind us is doing a whole lot of that.
Right.
They're just, okay, I trust you, so that's what I'm going to do.
Right.
Instead of questioning. We grew up in that question authority with the rock and roll.
Yes, we did. We did. I'm grateful for that.
I'm
grateful for that. But I can see how, we talked about this many times. All right, I'm 50. I was 38 starting to figure out all this stuff when I was going through all this with Matthew.
Yeah.
Up until that's 38 years of, we were actually sandwiched in between. My parents hung on every word every doctor said.
Oh,
They
yeah.
were the gospel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I, to this day, believe that's why my daddy died when he did, because he wouldn't listen to his daughter about some of the things.
Doctor. Yeah.
Because his doctor said he didn't have a problem when I saw a spot on his CAT scan that I worried was a early sign of cancer.
Right.
And he didn't listen to me. He said, "Oh no, but the doctor said it's fine, nothing to worry about." And 3 years later, he's dead of colon cancer.
Yeah.
So, that generation hung on to every word the doctor said. I think the current generation but we are in here going, what the heck is happening?
Something's not right.
Right. And that's not true blanketly. I know lots. My son is right up there with us, like, Mom, what do we need to do?
It's not a blanket over the generations, ours or either one of theirs.
No, exactly. Because I know plenty of people in our generation that are just as blind as anybody. But the thing is, at 38 years old, up until that moment, I hung on every word every doctor said.
Oh, absolutely.
I believed that when I went to the grocery store, of course, they're not going to give me something. The government isn't going to approve some food that's going to poison me.
It's hard to think that they know this stuff and they allow it. It's very hard to grasp that.
You don't want to believe it. How
No,
sad.
no.
You don't want to believe it. I felt like my innocence was stolen from me
Yes,
when I got this awakening, because
yes,
all of a sudden I'm like, well, I thought I could trust these people,
right.
and I
Yeah,
was always, woo woo when it came to the government. I always had my
yeah.
questions. I've always questioned a lot since I
Well,
was
we
about
didn't want to
8 years.
believe that they were gonna we knew there was probably corruption to a certain
Yeah.
extent, and, we've talked about the JFK assassination thing
Yes. Yeah.
before. I mean, we always kind of been there, but we didn't really wanna believe that they were intentionally poisoning us
No.
or, trying to make us sick on purpose.
But where's the money? I
That's
mean,
right. You always have to follow the money.
that is 100% it. You
Yeah,
gotta follow the money, and
yeah,
without following the money, you stay blind.
that's
You
right.
gotta do it, and I'm
Wait,
telling
you
you,
gotta
it's
reach a point where you ask yourself, "Who's benefiting?"
yeah,
Because it's not the American people.
no,
Who
no,
is it?
exactly, exactly. So, oh my gosh, we could go on and on and on
I
and on
know.
forever, and we're now at 45 minutes.
Well, we're gonna have to table our original ideas for the next one.
Yeah, which is absolutely fine, but I'm telling you, please watch this stuff. Please
Yes.
watch this stuff, guys. I can't stress it enough. I don't want to steal your innocence from you, but I want you to join us in this understanding and join the mean siblings in this understanding and this tribe, as they called it, so that you can, if nothing else, if you don't feel like you have influence over anybody in this world to make any kind of changes,
Then
you
choose for
got
yourself.
influence over your own
Yeah,
self and your children.
for yourself,
So
right.
please, if you don't want to, ever talk to anybody else about this, if you're afraid other people are going to think you're crazy, I don't care. Do
Right.
it for you.
Yep.
Listen to this for yourself and change the way you do things in your home and for your children, please. I am just
Me
it's such a big
At
deal.
least be open-minded enough to go listen to it, have an open mind, listen to it, and then make the decision for yourself.
Exactly. And you know what? That's exactly what Callie Mean says. I love that he mentions several times in all the podcasts. He's like, I'm a libertarian. I
Yeah,
want everybody to do what they want to do. If
yeah.
they want to drink Coke,
But
let
you
them drink
have to
Coke.
have the information before you can make an informed decision.
That's just it. And the
Mhm.
thing is right now we're trusting our doctors to have that information. I was there too. I
Yep.
didn't think
Me
that there was
too.
anything they didn't know, you
Yep.
know? And
Yep.
when I realized how much they don't know and how much
Yep.
they're purposely not taught,
Yep. Or
I
not
mean,
telling.
yeah, it's awful. It's
Yeah.
awful. So, girl,
But it's gonna get better. It's gonna get better because there's a movement.
there
There
is a
there are
movement.
more and more people that are realizing, and there are lots and lots of whistleblowers out there that are getting the information out of the inner web, tangled web that is the money
Yeah.
and why it's tangled like it is.
If you don't get anything else out of this, learn that it is acceptable to ask questions and
Yes.
start asking questions.
Yes.
And if you come across a situation where your doctor berates you for your questions or makes you feel stupid
You
because you
better
have
get a new
questions,
doctor.
fire them. I'm
Yep.
telling you, fire them.
Tell them
We
you're fired. Go
Yep.
find somebody else.
We did it when of course Bill can be a little bit of a hothead, but he did great. I was very proud of him. But when his old rheumatologist told him, and he was so cocky about it too, you can eat whatever you want, but you're going to need to be on this medication for life. Because
Oh,
Bill was telling him what we were doing with diet, and Bill almost came across the desk at him. I mean, he was so ticked that he
it's
dared
maddening. It's
disrespect what I was
maddening.
doing, but also he wasn't even open to the idea
Nope.
that food could have any effect. And Bill fired him. He never went back
Yep.
to him again.
Yep.
So fire them if
That's
they
right.
make you feel
Find the
that way.
courage. There's plenty of doctors out there, and you will find the one that you align with
Yep.
and that will work with you and be open-minded enough to at least try what you want to try.
Yep. And if you can afford functional medicine doctors,
Yes.
go with functional medicine. If your
Yes.
insurance covers it, I know that that's just on the health. Oh, let me tell you one thing I did get out of the podcast that I want everybody to listen to and to get on their wait list. This was brought up in, I think it was the Pursuit of Wellness one with Callie Means.
Okay.
So just about everybody listening probably knows who Dr. Mark Hyman is. If you don't, he is the head of the Cleveland Clinic for Functional Health. He is the gold standard functional health doctor. I love him. He's written like 19 books. He's
Right.
brilliant. I just can absorb everything from this man. And he is a big believer of giving the patient as much information about what's going on in their body as possible. So he is creating a subscription service and an app. It is going to be cost prohibitive for some, but I want to explain why this is such a big deal and why this is such a good deal. I have searched for my clients to get good, comprehensive, functional labs to be able to offer that to my clients as a panel. I have not found one that covered everything I wanted it to for under $900. I have yet to. Some of them are closer to $2,000. It is obscene how much this costs, but you're getting a lot of lab work. Dr. Mark Hyman is starting a subscription service. It's called Function Health. If you go to functionhealth.com, you can find this information and get on the wait list. So many people are doing this now that there is a wait list. I'm on it. Bill is on it. I put both of us on it. It is going to cost $499 a year, but let me tell you what you get. It blew my mind, which is why I find it so beneficial. You will get this app. You will get 100+ labs for the first time. And then 3 to 6 months later, you get 60 of them repeated that he wants you to have more than once a year. You get this every single year. When you get your labs back, you actually get a printout of anything that might be of concern. The reason why he wants people to have this in their hands is because the current system, our healthcare system, when you go to the doctor, and I experience this all the time with my clients, I will ask them, hey, just so we can see if insurance covers it, ask your doctor if he'll run this. And the doctors will always say, oh, no, you don't have any symptoms that indicate this. So no, we're not going to run it. The insurance won't pay for it until it is a problem.
Yeah.
So they will only allow the same 19 labs in current standard medicine that insurance will pay for every year for your well check, unless there is a problem. Well, the thing is, once you have symptoms, oftentimes, I won't say it's too late, but it's a lot more advanced.
Right.
Dr. Mark Hyman wants to give you all of these markers so that you can watch them on this app. It's going to give you the ability to watch the trends
and adjust.
And if something is showing in labs, it's going to show a lot earlier than your symptoms. You have time to fix it before it becomes a problem. That's huge, y'all. And that's why functional medicine is so wonderful, because it looks holistically at the whole person, and it looks for any warning signs of what could come, not what is already happening.
It follows the science.
It follows the freaking science. Yes. Bingo. Yes, it does. So it is such a cool thing. I'm so excited about it.
That is very cool. That is very cool.
Off the wait list. Yes, $500 is not cheap, and it's going to be Bill.
No, but when you break that down for the year.
Yes. Oh, and that's what I was getting to too. When you get your lab results, it comes with a medical, printout of, hey, you're, this level's up just a hair, you might want to consider this. And it's just high level stuff, but I know I will welcome if my clients use that and then show it to me. I will be able to do so much with that, because I understand all those functional labs. Whereas a lot of times, I have people that are coming to me going, oh my gosh, my, blood sugar is in the 500s. My hemoglobin A1C is 16. My cholesterol's, 350. I got to fix all this stuff, and we can do it. We can do it. But wouldn't it be so much nicer if you were watching it as it started trending that direction and could do something about it before it caused any problems, before it caused cellular damage?
Absolutely.
So 100%. Please look into that. Again, it's so worth it if it's something that you can do, because it's something that you are not able to do with Western medicine.
You
So
said that's functionhealth.com.
yep.
Okay.
Functionhealth.com. And that's all started by Dr. Mark Hyman, who's, again,
Nice.
gold standard for functional medicine. So
Nice.
girl, we are at the end of our time. So what have you had going on this week?
I still have elderberries going on, y'all. I think elderberries and figs.
What are you doing with your figs?
Nothing yet. Right now, I'm cleaning them and freezing them. That's all I'm doing.
Smart. She says, I can't get past the elderberries to deal with
the elderberries have me, but the elderberries are so time consuming because of picking them off of the stem. The stems can be poisonous if you ingest too much of it. It can hurt you. So I'm very careful to take them off completely of the stem before I preserve them. And I've been freeze drying them so they'll last longer. So it's time consuming.
It is.
But my fingers aren't purple anymore. So that's a good thing.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Well, I can tell you, we will talk about a lot more stuff that we had planned in our next podcast. We are actually going to record that podcast because I'm going to be with my grandbabies next Wednesday in Tennessee. So we're going to get that recorded for you all to still have the Wednesday podcast from us. When we decided to launch this, even though we've talked about it for years, we were like, that's it, we're starting now. And so we kind of had to, shift some things with our schedules for this first month because it's been a little.
Because life, right?
But going forward, it'll be a lot more, we'll have an idea.
Just so you all know, Wendy and I, we are in total agreement on our rigid flexibility is what we call it.
That's the term. I love it. So I know for a fact in the next one that we're going to record, we're going to talk about the medicinal benefits of garlic. We have so much to talk about with that. We're going to talk about olive oil and what amazing discovery Bill and I made with a new olive oil that we tried and what we've learned about that. Nice. We're going to talk about why you want to keep those devices away from your head. If there's anything that I want to mention really quickly before we wrap up, because Wendy and I really do want to share what we've gone through during the week, although I kind of told you that I've been geeking out on the Means siblings all week. So that's been a big part of it. But I told you all last week that I was starting a healing protocol on Saturday. I've eaten nothing but healing foods. I've started a couple of new supplements, doing some herbal teas. I've been very, very intentional about everything going in my mouth. And I feel amazing. I'm on day 5.
Nice.
But one of the big things that I finally broke down and made a change of, and I'm embarrassed to say I've known this was a problem for 4 years, but I hadn't done it, is get my phone and our devices, my watch, everything away from my bedside table. I've heard this about how it affects brain health. And you would think somebody who's so big on making sure that I don't end up with Alzheimer's with my, family history being so strong with that I would have done it a long time ago, but I always had excuses. Oh, I like to listen to my devotional until I fall asleep, or, oh, what if the kids need me? Oh, all this stuff. The other day, it finally hit me. I'm like, this is the same thing that people do with food.
Yeah.
They think that they can't go back to how things were pre-cell phone days. That's what I just thought. Yeah. So I was like, what did people do when they had an emergency before? Plus, I will admit, Bill isn't willing to give his up yet. So if the kids need me, they got his phone they can call. But
Just make sure the ringer's on. You'll be able to hear it.
Yeah. But so what I did this week, y'all, is I moved. I have two cell phones, and my watch that I had kept next to my bed, and a power strip, because everything had to be plugged in the power strip right next to my head every night. And I moved them, and I kid you not, this has been 2 nights now, and I've woken up more refreshed,
Nice.
fell right to sleep, didn't have the blue lights, didn't have, the blue light exposure that late. It was insane, the difference. Like I'm texting Wendy at 5 a.m. the next morning after the first morning. I'm like, whoa, this is a thing. This is like real. Like I didn't think it wasn't, but anyway.
With clients that I have that have sleeping issues, that's the first thing I will ask.
Yeah.
You have a TV in your bedroom.
Yep.
Do you keep your phone on your nightstand?
Yeah.
That's got to go.
Yeah.
Because
and I've known these things, but I just wasn't ready to let go. Well, y'all, there will never be one by my bedside ever again. Not seeing the difference, just the reduced EMFs while I'm trying to sleep. It's incredible.
No, everybody should do it. Test it.
Yeah.
Especially if you're having sleeping issues.
Yeah.
There's something that's a tip for you. Just try it. See if it works for you.
Just give it a shot.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, we will sign off from this week's episode. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I hope we didn't scare you away, but
go find the mean siblings.
Yes, the mean siblings. I'm telling you, Callie and Casey Means. They are amazing. Watch everything.
MEANS.
Yep, MEANS. Watch everything that they are in, because it's so worth it, and they are so spot on, and they are so aligned with everything that Wendy and I stand for and teach. And I'm so, I don't want to say obsessed. I don't believe in getting obsessed with anything but God. But I am so
infatuated.
I'm so enamored by them. I am literally going to see how I can reach out to them and just tell them who I am, tell them what I stand for, and say, look, I might be small potatoes, but you put me to work. Tell me what to do, because I will be part of their tribe in a heartbeat. They're the real deal. So
nice.
All right. You guys have a great rest of your day and have a great week. And we will see you next Wednesday.
Till next time.
Mwah.